as we're gathering. Hopefully, Peggy checked into the big room, but is still trying to get into the breakout room. Um,
One time that happened to us, and Kathy was able to get us in. So
okay, I'm not sure. I'm gonna text. I don't know how to get a message back to the big room.
Yeah, you're asking the wrong person.
Did you do a personal, like, I wanted like Yanni or something.
Yeah,
Um,
Yanni's probably the one that should be doing it.
yeah, I think that's what she said.
I think I'm not, I think I only have her email. Let me just check.
But I thought we could
Just,
pick someone. Let's see.
This is from Kathy.
oh, this is from Yanni.
Oh,
I think that's for me to go get it.
Interesting because when you open participants, it's only our little group.
It's another group, yeah. Yeah,
Oh, that's
I got Peggy in our group but not joined, and she tried. I saw her name pop up. Don't know how to do that.
The text to Kathy Larson.
Can you
Yeah,
text?
let me
do you
try
have
that.
can you text
Oh,
her?
hey, there's an ask for help thing. Did you
I did.
What
Where's
about
that?
that? Here. It says up there, there's a question mark and it says tap for help. And then when you open it, it says you can invite the host to this breakout room for
Oh, can you do
assistance.
that?
And then, shall I invite the host?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, I'll just do it and see what happens.
What number meeting?
Oh, hey, Yanni. It
Oh,
looked like Peggy Neal came into the big group room, but hasn't been able to find us in our breakout room.
Yeah, I assigned her, but I'm trying to communicate with her, but I can't get her to. She's not responding.
Hmm.
So
I can.
let me get out. Let me get out, and I'll see if I can try and communicate with her.
Okay.
Steve,
Thank you.
what number class is this?
Week 5.
Okay.
So it's not our last, but it is an opportunity to kind of look back on what we've done so far and
Okay.
say, what are we taking away from this so far? Oh, there's Peggy
Okay.
coming in.
Great.
And how many classes are there?
Well, so in the normal flow of a Church 101, we would meet one more time
Okay.
um, and talk about what's next, which is leader teams. Um, but this is kind of the closing of what we've done. And then Tim, for some reason, wanted us to do 2 more. So we're going to do 2 more somethings.
Oh, nobody knows what it is, huh?
And nobody knows what that is quite yet. But it likely will be something around all around what's next and how do we do this, knowing that this is an experiment of doing this many people at once from one group of one organization. And so um, we're still calling this an experiment and
Okay.
not so sure what that experiment means.
Okay.
So how many people are normally in a group,
Class.
a
So
class?
this what we're doing is pretty normal.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so a group of 2 to 6, 3 to 6 with the
Okay.
facilitator. I
Three,
did my
two.
church 101 with one other person and our facilitator.
Okay.
But this is kind of normal, however many people show up. Um, I think 6 is about max for me. I wouldn't want to do it with more. Um,
Yeah.
and so this week we're going to make a kind of a takeaway session, um, and then kind of prep you for what's next in the leader teams. And then next week is about those leader teams. They call them communities of practice. what does that mean in the context of Rock Tribe? We got to work that out and see what that looks like. I love the communities of practice are my takeaway, and my admonition on that is I waited too long to join a community of practice.
Hmm.
So what
I-
exactly is a community of practice?
So we meet twice a month. There is a monthly training that's on some topic. It might be appreciation, it might be checking in, it might be something. We meet the same way. We check in. We have we often ask Jesus um, about things, and then we work on whatever the practice is. And so it's training, it's practice in keeping to the Luke 10 rhythms. And it's been incredibly valuable. Um, I wish I hadn't waited 6 months, which is what
Hmm.
I did. Um, and so it's great. For the most part, most of them are from people like this all over the country, all over the world,
Mhm.
practicing together, building relationship together. It's surprising how strong the relationships are. I'm in a community practice with many of the people that are facilitating here. That's kind of how we took on this job. And so we meet twice a month, and others of the people are also in my local Luke 10 gathering in
Okay.
person. So let's Peggy, I your name is on my screen, but I don't see you or hear you.
Can
Huh.
we? I think we'd be able to chat with her now, shouldn't we? If we open.
Oh,
Oops, shoot.
Fine.
Anybody not on their phone? Because this is giving me grief on my
I
phone.
know.
Come on, why is that moving?
Yeah, that's what.
I'm at the chat. I chatted.
I
Let's see if
chatted
she
her
answers.
too.
Okay.
Mm. Huh.
Where's Israel, Grace?
He's too many things going on. He's actually in the other room
It's in the Middle East.
finishing up a phone call. And he was in Charlotte all day, all weekend, so he's
Pooped.
he needs to transition
Yeah.
transition
Right.
into here.
Yeah. Oh wow.
Oh, there's her name again. Please, Peggy, show up.
Can you hear me? Oh, I heard her a little bit.
A little bit, maybe.
See. Is her internet bad right now?
We're still having technical difficulties. Uh, I texted her too.
Okay.
Maybe we can ask Yanni to show up again.
So just on another subject, Steve, could we review what the Luke 10 principles are?
Sure.
Okay.
Watch this. Oh, there she is.
Oh, awesome.
Oh, how awesome.
Yay,
Peggy. Yay.
you're with us.
I'm going to share this for a second and then jump back out because I don't know how to. Nope, that's not it. There we go. Oh, and then we lost Peggy.
Oh,
Oh, she was there for a second.
it almost seems like her internet is spotty right now.
Oh, there you are. You're going in and out, Peggy.
I'm having trouble. I've been trying to get on since 7. I don't know what's going on.
It seems like your internet connection's a little weak or something.
I'll try my hotspot.
Or she's on hotspot.
Uh,
Is what you're going to share in your screen, Steve, something that we have been sent that we can print off?
yes, it's called Four Keys to Building Vibrant Families of Jesus.
Okay, hold on just a second. Let's see if I printed out stuff.
And we'll get there, but I'll share that with you for a second. There we go. Can you see that?
Can you blow it up?
We can. blow it up.
Oh, we can
we
blow
can
it
blow
up.
it up.
We can blow it up.
Oh,
The CO2 is checking in. Isn't a CO2 and checking in kind of go hand in hand?
well, the CO2 is the two people, two practices, as close to daily as possible. Checking in is part of that. That's one practice. Second practice is listening to Jesus and praying the 10 to be prayer. So this is the essence of what we've done so far,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
right? So I'll get back to that. I just want to check in first and do first things first.
It just left me. Do you have
I
this?
think
So Peggy, do you want to try just checking in? How we showing up? Not sure she's hearing me. Well, I'll start. I'm showing up a little tired because I've been sick, but like 80% better. But very excited to be with you guys. My experience of doing and facilitating these has been so powerful for me that I'm very excited to keep going and be with you guys today.
right.
Smiling faces. Peggy, can you give us a thumbs up and tell us whether you hear us well or not?
I can hear you. I can hear you pretty well. It breaks up. I'm trying to change to my hotspot to see if I can get a better connection.
Okay. You're breaking up too. I'll just keep going and
Can
we'll
you
get
hear
back
me?
to you.
I can go next.
Okay.
Were you finished?
I'm in.
Okay.
How can we help you in that? Or do you need anything?
Yeah, do you need anything?
Let me be honest. No, I think this is just fun. I'm looking forward to hearing from everybody.
Great. All right.
Cool. So last week, I don't know if you remember me having this terrible headache
And being kind of grumpy
and just really miserable. Well, it turns out I have shingles in my head, like all back in the back of my head.
Oh my
back of my-
gosh. We couldn't
We couldn't see that. We
rash
couldn't see it,
because it's in a scalp.
but it's like little knives stabbing you in the head every like couple of seconds. So that actually made a lot of sense. I didn't actually find out until a couple of days ago, actually, because I was going to a chiropractor to be treated for my neck. But then I had these scabs on the back of my head, and I was like, this is not normal. So I went to an urgent care, and they figured out, oh yeah, you have shingles. So, despite all that and how painful it's been and how much of a struggle it is, I've been able to continue to work, and actually work gives me a break because I'm so focused on what I'm doing that I don't notice the pain. But these last 3 days, so Thursday, Friday, I took off. Thursday so I could help Ann watch our 2-year-old granddaughter. And then Friday, we took all of our grandkids that are in this area to something called the Terry Bison Farm or Terry Bison.
You can feed bison.
Basically, it's this bison ranch.
Steve's probably heard of it.
And you can, but it was just 2 really great days. of just being with the people I love and enjoying them and having joy moments. And it just felt really full, like shalom.
Mhm.
And then the other thing is on Saturday, so there's this widow in our neighborhood that I've been trying to just help out. So I've done a few things for her. She has a fence post that had cracked. So I replaced that, but she had 4 more fence posts that would have probably taken me 8 to 10 hours by myself to do. But our church was having a service day, so I recommended to my small group that we go to her house and address the fence together. And we did that on Saturday, and it went really well. And she was super
It only took like it only took
grateful.
an
It
hour
only
and a
took
half.
about hour and a half, 2 hours for all of us to do it. And then she came to church this morning,
Oh,
and I was just like,
nice.
that is so cool. I mean,
Aw.
I didn't have that expectation. That wasn't even on my radar. It's like I'm just trying to love this lady who's a widow in my neighborhood, and that there's a senior center that our church is kind of connected to, and that's how I got connected to her need. And she literally lives like a block away from us.
Mhm.
So I'm like, well, if this isn't the definition of, widows and orphans, I don't know what it is. So yeah, so I was just really encouraged that so many of our small group members came, how well it worked. I mean, we even had our kids and grandkids there helping, but everybody was working together. And I just feel really encouraged.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I've got a curious question. How do you define shalom? You used this shalom word.
So in Life Model, and also I think in some of the Alive and Well stuff, they define shalom as everything is in the right place at the right time at the right amount, and it just feels like, yeah, this is good. Like, does that make sense?
Yeah, and when you did that, I felt it.
Yeah, yeah,
Like in the midst of everything else that's going on, everything actually is from God's sight, it's all working together and you're
yeah,
getting
yeah,
the rest you need in the midst of activity and difficulty and shingles and
yeah,
but it's all working together for good.
yeah. And it also affirms that even though like the customer that I'm working for wants everything done by Thanksgiving, it was like, no, Thursday and Friday this week are out. Like every Thursday's out because that's when we watch Lucy. But and so just being committed to that really gave me the life energy, it's just the life-giving motivation to a relational kind of connection that kind of keeps me going. So
And
Mhm.
I'm not sure if I've shared with you guys, but I'm running a group of restarting. It's a life model.
yeah,
Um,
yeah, we've done it.
and, and what I'm watching is with some of the people that I've been working with before I got to there that are doing Luke 10 rhythms, um, is that the rhythms themselves take care of 11 of the 19 brain skills.
Oh wow.
Wow.
And that simply doing this, and I'm thinking of one particular woman in our group that's very difficult with lots of issues, but her joy capacity is growing.
Mm,
Wow.
And before the gap between her pain and everything was up here. Her pain was
mm,
above her joy capacity. But by being with, by receiving, by doing these rhythms and rounds and beginning to grow that joy capacity, it's just really seeing demonstrable changes in how she's living. And the way you described shalom is exactly what I experienced in her actually today.
mm.
Wow.
Wow.
It's just all the chaos is still there, but her
Right.
peace
Yeah.
is growing, and the gap between her joy level and her pain level is growing, and she's not so frenetic.
Yeah.
She's more calm. And it really is, I think, just doing these rhythms consistently with people that are there for you no matter what.
Yeah.
So I just loved your expression of
Thank
shalom.
you. The funny thing about restarting is that was the very first introduction that we had into any of the life model stuff. And I had only done a manual prayer once as a participant. And so in the beginning of restarting, they kind of explain the relational styles. And if you don't have a secure attachment, then there's all these other attachments that you could have. And I think after the second or third class, we looked at each other and we were like, we're screwed. You know, we are in so much trouble.
I am all three of the wrong ones.
Yeah, right. Between the two of us, we got them all covered, you know. And but then as you continue, you realize, you know what, that doesn't have to stay that way.
Mhm.
Like we also that was when we discovered that our relational bond was a fear bond. It wasn't a love bond or a joy bond.
Mhm.
But we were okay. We were like, okay, well, now we know where we're at, you know. And then we had been married for like, I don't know, 25 years at that point. So
You look like you have a different kind of secure bond now.
Yeah.
I think
most
so.
of the time.
It's been challenged over the last couple of years,
Cool.
mostly because of me. But
Are you in?
I'm in.
And how are you showing up?
I am feeling encouraged and more energetic than I have felt in a long time, which is really awesome. I feel like my health is shifting a little bit in a good way. And it was just so, I did what you do, Steve, and I set an alarm to go off at 10:02 a.m. and p.m. And I've been praying that prayer. And I think our elderly neighbor actually coming to church this morning felt so much like, oh, wow, maybe that was the Lord.
I felt that too.
Responding to that prayer.
Yeah. I felt that too.
Yeah.
I think it's profound. I really do.
Mm-hmm. And it just felt so good to love on her with our small group and all the kids that were there. And I think she really enjoyed that interaction. And she sat out there with us, even though it was rather chilly. But
yeah, so I think there was something about the way we all worked together, the way the kids helped. I mean, they didn't help the whole time; they were screwing around and stuff. But
you know what kids will do,
right? But yeah, and there was a good amount of. I mean, there was what 6, 8 adults. There?
Yeah.
I mean, it obviously made some sort of impact on her, and we had no expectation of being anything but loving on her and trusting the Lord that He had a purpose in it.
Right. We did pray over her before we left.
We did.
I just think from something she said, I don't know that she really knows Christ, so it was a great sermon this morning for her to hear.
Yeah.
So I'm just really excited about praying this prayer, and just seeing what God does and what He opens up to us. And I'm praying it for like the whole world, like Christians all over would begin to really feel that I have to share this great news with the people around me who are perishing,
I'm one of the workers.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's big. Do you think that these two main Luke 10 rhythms of checking in heart to heart and checking in with Jesus could be a way that you build relationship with her?
You mean start to do these practices with her?
Yeah, just kind of in a casual way. How's your heart?
Yeah.
Instead of how you doing?
Yeah.
You showing the example of, I'm showing up today a little bit tired, but I'm very excited to be with you.
Yeah, right.
How are you showing up? How are you feeling? How are you feeling today?
Yeah.
And And when something comes up that, hey, we run into things like this, we just ask Jesus, would you mind if we just took a minute and
Oh, I
we're
like that.
quiet? We're quiet and see if anything comes to your mind, any sensations, images, feelings, thoughts, songs, and then you pause for a minute, share with her what you got, ask her if she heard anything. No big deal, you know,
Yeah.
and then just go back about your day.
Yeah, I love that.
And sometimes it's the first time people ever hear from Jesus. They didn't know they'd been listening to him.
Right, exactly.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
awesome. Are you
Well,
in?
thank you. I am in.
Cool. Peggy, do we have you?
Yes, I hear you guys. You see me okay?
Yeah,
Yeah.
you're freezing a little bit, but we
Can you?
can hear you.
Okay, good. I had a lot of trouble. Yeah, let's see. So I guess I'm showing up a little bit flustered, but it's okay. I got into back home about 5 till 7 and then had trouble connecting until just now. Don't know what it was. So praise the Lord, it worked. I'm so happy to be here. Yeah. So, but I had a really wonderful experience yesterday of going to a place on top of a mountain that is a prayer portal. Spent the whole day with the 8 people from our fellowship, and it's about 3.5 hours away. So we drove there and then spent all day. And even though it was raining and chilly, we didn't care. It was just really cool. And there's sculptures, a great big gigantic cross, and just a prayer garden. Miracles happen there. There's all kinds of testimonies. So we just spent the day together, and it was really good.
Mm.
And I love the things I've been learning through this because I've been intentionally relational, like in the car with people I don't know well. I'm learning to listen, deeply with them and not correct when I really want to, because we get into some really interesting conversations over 3 hours, and just listen and love, and so they know I'm hearing them and understanding what they're saying. And that really isn't the time to do any heavy anything, just be together and love each other. And so we came back today, and in church, you could just feel how much more connected we all were.
Hmm.
So, I'm telling everybody, we all need to go away together and spend time together. But it was very, very good.
It sounds like you've got this afterglow
Mm.
that you're bringing with you. Tell
And
me what that feels
yeah,
like.
joy,
Joy.
a lot of joy. Yeah. Oh, just it's just really wonderful, actually, to feel that closeness with people. We have had a lot of people join us in the last year, and we're a small fellowship. So when I say a lot, maybe all these people are basically new people that I was with, and I've had great times in our meetings. We've had lunches together occasionally, but this is the first time we've had extended contact where we could just spend time. And the whole thing centered around the Lord and prayer and worship, because there was live worship out there in one of the areas. And, it was really beautiful in so many ways. But the uh, sense of connection was very deep and very fun. And yeah, so I
We
just really feel happy.
we did a listening round today in the group I met with, and the verse I got was John, I think it's John 15:11, that Jesus says, I tell you all this
Uh-huh.
so that my joy will be fulfilled in you or complete in you. And that's what I'm hearing
Uh-huh.
from you.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And seeing on your face actually too.
That's yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Cool.
I mean, there was physical, tangible difference when all of us we saw each other, and there was joy on
Hmm.
everybody's faces when we saw each other.
Mm.
and it was genuine, and it was really awesome. And you know, I have relationships with other people in the group too for years, but this is new. And I loved that I was conscious of some of the things that I've learned and could try to implement them, and felt like it was helping me be more intentionally relational, kind of relational anyway, but this was more focused, and I think helped a lot.
Did you
So,
feel like some of the
especially
skills
with,
you've been Go ahead.
go ahead. No,
Oh,
no,
did
go
you feel
ahead.
like some
What?
of the skills you've been practicing have helped you get mutual mind as and leaning in and listening in a new way?
Yes, yes. And especially with one very challenging uh new believer who's so on fire for God, but some of the things she does causes problems in places and disruptions, and she gets herself in trouble because she doesn't know how to go through proper channels when she's addressing things. She's got all these gifts and all of the zeal, but it's just kind of like a tidal wave running over people, and she gets in trouble. So I'm trying to listen to her, affirm her, and gently maybe say something, but not, I wanted to know I heard her and understood where she's coming from, and maybe gently get something in, but not try to be too heavy with anything. No correction. I
Awesome.
remember no preaching no correction. Yes, I see you, I value you, I've heard you. And that's what I tried very hard to do, especially 3 hours of uh, conversation. So it was challenging, but it was good. So, and
I,
in my
I
heart, I had a change because
Mm.
I just had a change in my own heart through the whole process. So,
Mm.
Amen. You sound like you're in.
yeah, I'm in. Yep.
Grace, how you showing up? I don't hear you. You look like your
I'm not
audio's on.
muted.
There you
There you
go.
go.
There you
Oh,
are.
we
You
hear
can hear me
you.
now?
Yep.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
Oh, weird. I'm encouraged and
Okay, now you just kind of went away. Like you don't
Like
sound
you're,
as clear.
it's almost like you're like really far away.
You can try that.
Oh, now I
uh,
can't hear you at all.
No.
You're gonna have to change your
What?
settings.
oh,
There
There
you
you
go.
go.
but you guys, I can't hear you very well.
Oh, really?
No,
Mm-mm.
no.
My headphones are ridiculous. Shoot. Well, while I'm talking, I'll leave my headphones out. And then when
Perfect.
okay.
you guys are talking, I'll put them um so I'm showing up. I feel encouraged and joyful as well. This has been just a neat week relationally. A dear friend had a birthday this week, and so there was a surprise party. She'd never had a surprise party before, and she turned 60. She'd never really had many birthday parties even. And it was just so neat how we all came together, and just all the love that was flowing
Mm.
between everyone, not just for our one friend. And then we have a Friday morning breakfast at her house where there's a few of us that we come together and we eat breakfast together, and share the Lord, and it always leads into very organic prayer and encouragement and prophecy, um and so the whole week just felt so I just felt so connected relationally to people, and that was very joyful. And I'm also developing some new rhythms with the Lord, and just being consistent and intentional. I'm really just experiencing just like new life in that. Um, and then I also, oh, and then Saturday, last night, another woman that I actually met through this friend who just had a birthday. She lives down in Columbia, which is like an hour and a half from here. But at my one friend's surprise birthday party and at this other woman's birthday party, we had a worship time. So anytime you come together and worship, especially in a more organic way, in my experience, versus like the church thing, it's always very bonding in that way. And then also my husband, the Lord's just doing some things like connecting him with some brothers, some young guys that are really on fire for the Lord and they want mentorship and discipleship, and that, just watching my husband come alive, because he's just wired for that. And he, for most of our married life, we've just been, missions, and he's worked when he had to, but we've really been able to just give ourselves to the gospel. And the last 4 years we haven't been able to, and God's been in that too. But seeing what's happening with him and these guys, is when he's alive like that, it just gives me a lot of joy. And even some new opportunities financially that are that he's excited about, is exciting for me.
Mhm.
So and I'm excited to be with you guys tonight. I was looking forward to doing this. I'm enjoying these. I enjoy these times. I actually doing, though I'm realizing, even though I've been doing the homework and Israel and I have been checking in to a certain degree most days, I was realizing, well, we're actually not doing the whole thing.
Hmm.
Like consistently ask the question of like, how are you showing up and how's your heart? But we don't, but we can end up like going too long with answering that question and not taking the time to listen to Jesus. And we haven't been praying the prayer. So I'm realizing I need to up my game and our intentionality in relationship to those rhythms. And yeah, so
You're
I
in.
guess I'll stop there. And I'm in.
I hear lots of excitement and everything working together. That Romans 10 verse. Or is it 10?
I can't hear you. Oh, there we go.
Oh, got him
Sorry,
in?
say it again.
Uh, that Romans verse, everything's working together for good for those who are called. It's just stuff's happening and connecting and bringing you joy. Yeah, awesome. Um, I had a question. It just lost me. Oh, just I'm encouraged by you digging into the process and then looking at and going back into the process. These railroad tracks to run on are so powerful, and we are so used to doing relationships differently, doing church differently, that kind of constantly having to come back into those things. When the check-in doesn't bring us an opportunity to listen to Jesus, I've got a couple of just pat ones that I do. Let's ask Jesus how he feels about being with us.
Mhm.
And that's always fun. And just those kind of things that really open it up for Jesus to tell us just about anything he wants.
Mhm.
And so putting that rhythm in, sometimes I'm like you, Grace, I'll not do that one because nothing really organic came up that we need to feel like we need to listen to Jesus about. Let's make sure we check in with him every time. What do you want us to know about? And fill in the blank. What do you want us to know about the rest of the day? What do you want us to know about, anything? So thank you. Is Israel there? There he is.
Hello.
Oh, good.
Hello.
I see your eyeball. Oh, there's the rest of your face. Looks like you got a
See my
haircut.
one eyeball?
Yeah,
Hold on a second.
there you
Let's
are.
get this picture. There we go.
Sounds like you've had a good week.
I've had a busy week, but I just got off the phone with a brother that Grace and I know from years back, and anyways, it's really exciting to hear where they are. So I've been running and gunning all this last week and then through the weekend. So I am excited, and I'm also I'm not really tired, like ready for bed, but I'm not excited about starting a new work week. I feel like I didn't really get to have a rest.
Cool.
But I'm excited for sure.
That's hard.
That is hard.
Well, I'm glad you're here. Take a few breaths. I don't know if you can listen in with the earphone back and forth, but
How can we be with you in that?
You want any cheese with your soup?
That is a great question, Jim. Honestly, I feel a little bit bad about you guys being with me in it at all, because I'm like, I haven't been in it with you up to this point tonight, and I'm just kind of crashing the party.
That's
It feels
okay.
awkward to step into the spotlight in terms of like you guys focusing attention on me.
well, you're worth it.
I don't think Jesus feels that way.
Good point.
Right.
Well, you guys are awesome.
Yeah, I don't think we
Part
feel
of
that
the
way.
group. You're part of the group no matter when you get in.
Mm-hmm.
That's right, Peggy. Thank
Right?
you.
Part of the group, right?
Well,
I'm just
and
glad you're here.
you were being faithful to Jesus and staying on the phone with your friend and encouraging him instead of saying,
Yeah.
"Hey, I gotta go." It sounds like that was a conversation that you were supposed to have.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Cool. Well, I think we're all in.
Yeah, he contacted me that his gobbledygook. So he's like processing through a lot of stuff that's been hard. It's been hard for him to see and know what to do with. And so anyways, it was awesome for me because I feel like, he's kind of wandering in the woods and hacking his way through weeds and prickers and all this stuff. And he's saying, Israel. And then I come out and I like can just pull him through some bushes onto the trail that we've been walking for a long time. So it felt really good, to kind of see him transition out of, I don't know if you guys have ever been wandering through the woods and found yourself off the beaten track and just up to your neck in prickers and weeds and bugs and whatever else, mud. So anyways, it was fun to hear where he is and to kind of help orient him and see how much life was coming into him through that. So, and I'm in.
Would it be helpful if one of us prayed for you?
I would love it if you guys wanted to not take a long time, but if you wanted to just listen to the Lord for me and whatever.
Just in light of what, being tired, or
just in light of whatever God says, really. I've got so many things that are cooking right now that I don't want to take the time to get into.
Let's do a listening round. What do you have for Israel? And we'll just take about a minute and see what.
Yeah. And I would encourage you, like, whatever you get, like, just go with it, because it could be totally weird to you, but I've got so many things going on right now that I'm saying, God, I don't know what to do, what to prioritize, and, what are you saying, and how do all these things fit together? So go for it.
Okay. Let's take about 2 minutes and see what God has for you. think that's about 3 minutes. I'll start. It's kind of I know that plans I have for you verse, but it stops there. It doesn't continue with the regular verse. But I know it. I know the plans I have for you in there for peace and rest, out of which will come my glory. And I asked more on that. What does that mean? And it said, listen to me and I will speak. The word I got was creation out of you. And what I meant, what it seemed to mean is like, you'll listen to him, you'll speak, and stuff will get created. Stuff will happen. Things will grow in people that weren't going to grow otherwise, because that creative word came from him through you.
Awesome. Wow. Thank you.
So I heard the Lord say that he's with you in your busyness, and that it's okay in the midst of that to pause and be still and to just listen for the Lord. It's actually more than okay. It seems like that can be really helpful. And I have to admit that that's kind of where I'm at too. So I might be just talking to myself.
Yeah. Just so you know, Jim, I have found oftentimes what the Lord's doing in me, he sets me up in a situation where somebody else needs to hear that. So
yeah,
that could be a both and there.
Yeah.
I appreciate
We're
it.
preaching to ourselves, right?
Right.
I felt the two verses came to mind, the Isaiah 40:31 about they who wait for the Lord renew their strength, and they mount up with wings like eagles. They will run and not be weary, and they will walk and not be faint. So you kind of pushed yourself this weekend and had a lot going on, but that you can trust the Lord that he's going to give you the strength and energy for what's ahead this week,
Yes.
Also, just from John 15, about all you need to do is abide in the Lord, that stick with him, and he will produce the fruit, So
Amen.
Beautiful.
Peggy, anything?
Yes. Two things. I got this phrase, do not be weary in well doing, and that's for your soul. And then I heard,
That's
come into my
for our what?
presence for your soul. Don't
My
be
soul.
weary in well doing. Yeah. And then come into my presence, sit with me, and I will renew your strength and joy, and you will have the rest in me that will renew your strength. So it's come to him tonight before bed, get into his presence, and let him just rest in him, and he'll renew your strength and fill you with joy. And then you'll have the fuel tomorrow, basically.
Amen.
So,
Amen.
I believe that. I receive it.
So I had this impression. I saw just this faint impression of you like sitting, and then it was like this feeling of you just melting, just like letting down and just melting into the presence of the Lord. And then it was like I saw like the things that were important right now sort of bubbling up to the surface as you're just melting and letting everything go, and then what was important would just come up.
Mm.
So,
Cool.
Awesome.
Israel, how does that all land on you?
Beautifully. Yeah, I mean, I felt ministered to by all of it. And I resonate with all of it.
Amen.
Yeah.
Awesome. I'm going to put up that document again. I'm not sure if you guys can read it, but I will read it for us. So this is just a summary of what we've done so far. So there's these four things. The CO2, it's the track we're running on with two people as close to daily as possible, is the basic building block of church and the basic building block of what I want to do with just about everybody and then call it church. So even the lady next door. And that process, those two rhythms are checking in, being joy fueled through connecting heart to heart with each other and God. This practice helps us pay attention to our hearts and check in. Participants take turns sharing how each other are feeling, keeping it 2 to 3 minutes if possible. Often following the model, I'm checking in as sad, angry, happy, tired, tender. And I'm sad because, or I'm happy because. Then the next round, listening to Jesus, being Jesus led through heart to heart connection with God. This practice helps us pay attention to God's heart. We listen in many ways, but the default practice is sitting in silence together for a few minutes, asking God two main questions. How do you feel about being with us? And is there anything you want us to know? And then praying the Luke 10:2b prayer, spreading the joy, becoming a transformational viral movement of spiritual moms and dads, involving praying the prayer that Jesus told his disciples about in Luke 10:2, that the Lord of the harvest would send workers into the harvest. The prayer reminds us that finding laborers for the harvest begins with God and all the results are in his hands. We listen for how to pray this prayer and pray to God to send laborers regularly as he leads us. We're specifically asking for people that the Lord has already prepared to start a church or start another vibrant family of Jesus in their home or school or business. And it says, see the story of Cornelius in Acts, who asked Paul to come up and talk to his already beginning family. And the other piece for me in that is just asking God to open my eyes to the answers to those prayers. So what I want to do is just take these last four sessions we've done and listen to our hearts. We'll do a little 2 to 3 minutes of listening. And what's been most important to you is the question one. And the second question is, how are you feeling drawn to apply this in your life? And if you listened on any of the materials, there was one video that had people just talking about all the different places they deploy these rhythms. And so let's do that. Let's take 2 or 3 minutes and answer the question, what's your takeaway from this? What's your favorite part? What seemed important? How you feel like you need to carry this forward? So we'll take that 2 or 3 minutes here. There we go. I'll start. Um, I really felt like my experience of doing Church 101 again, um, with you guys has been awesome practice listening and trying to hear and repeat back what I've heard, so that people feel seen and heard. And that's just done by more particularly following the rhythms and really listening. And it's just been awesome to do that. And I'm excited actually to facilitate more of these because it drives me very corely into the practice. I use it in other places, but this has been particularly rich. How's that? Somebody else, what's your takeaway
Well,
so
I
far?
think for me, it's mostly the check-in and listening to God together with Anne. But I really have I have hopes of implementing a version of that in our small group. And also so the two men that I normally meet with on a regular basis, that has been kind of disrupted because of schedule. So we haven't really met consistently. But I was going to ask one of them that seems to be more receptive if he wanted to do that on a daily basis, whether through text or, phone calls. But I just, he's been too busy. He's a little bit of an overcommitter. So, um, so I haven't been able to really, besides doing it relatively regularly with Anne, I haven't done it with anyone else, but I do have some, I think that it's a good tool for helping people to go deeper if they're willing. So,
Okay. Thank you. Do you think Jesus is calling you into a deeper process with this, with more people, or just right now focusing on this one guy,
oh,
which
and
is
well, with my friend Jimmy, and then also, and Jimmy's the leader of the men's ministry, and then also with our small group, and I think that this year's small group has some of the participants have changed, and I think that the people that are in it now will be more willing to kind of go there.
okay.
Um, so it's been frustrating because we haven't really found a good way to introduce, the Emmanuel approach and maybe some of the life model stuff into like our small group or into our church. So this is just another, it's a little different, but it's got kind of the same principles behind it.
Mm-hmm. You can apply them. Thank you.
Yeah.
And what's your takeaway?
Well, I wrote down that connecting intentionally on a emotional basis,
Mm-hmm.
that has been really helpful, and I think it's been helpful in our relationship. But I think I see the potential of using that with so many other people who don't know how to do that. They don't know how
Mm-hmm.
to connect in relationships emotionally. So
Yeah.
like Jim, I have hopes of places to use this that will bring more fruit in those relationships and more fulfillment, I think.
Yeah. The hard thing is finding people that are open to it.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Because we're in a much
Cool.
more traditional church environment, and that's where we're choosing to be. But it just creates more challenges.
Yep. I understand.
Being a pastor, I guess you would.
Yeah. and the blank faces I get sometimes when I try to bring up these things. You want me to listen to Jesus
You want me to
in
what?
church?
Right?
Oh boy.
Yikes.
Yikes, that's scary. What do you mean? Aren't you supposed to do that for us?
Yeah, right. That's true.
Okay, cool.
Peggy, what's your takeaway?
Okay. Uh, okay, here's what I wrote down. This is a proven path to join people together at a heart level and builds bonds like the threefold cord that cannot be broken. It's a vehicle to open the life flow of communication that can lead to healing broken hearts and forging strong, unified communities in the Lord's purpose. And I'm excited about this because in the very beginning, when I came to this group, I was looking for a way to go deeper in relationships because I saw in my trip to Europe with my pastors that they naturally are relational, and I couldn't understand their language these people were speaking. So I watched them and I saw the effect their loving attention had in lifting their whole countenance. And from the time they were with these people, just a few minutes or it could be days, whatever time was allowed, these people's countenance literally changed. Their hearts were encouraged. They felt loved. They felt important, that these people would come from America and seek them out and try to get with them. And it was so beautiful to me. I said, wow, Lord, there's a real miracle of something happening here. What is this? And so as I saw it, I learned a lot from that experience and how they handle themselves in love with other people. And it challenged me. And then I've heard about all of this kind of training through Diane. And I thought, this might be something
Oh,
I need to hear with people. And it's exciting to me that here is, like you call it, a track. Here's a roadmap of where we can go to really help people and make them feel loved and connected and important. And wow, what it just is very powerful. And personally, practically, I haven't gotten to implement this in a CO2 yet because Diane got sick. And I was going to do it with my pastor's wife, who's also the pastor, but we're already such close friends. We do this anyway without putting any effort. Now, we don't actually do let's listen to Jesus kind of thing, but we talk and we share and everything. And so it's very wonderful, rich relationship. But I do have at least two people that I want to do this with. One, a very new believer, and one who's very mature in the Lord, but very lonely. And so that's my next way of implementing these things. Plus, I'm always talking about it everywhere I go and using it like in the car on long trips, that kind of thing. So, yeah.
I hear it as a vehicle for your heart.
Yes,
Like
I
like
think
like
it
it
is.
like it lets your heart out. Awesome.
Yeah, I think that's a good thing. Yeah.
Cool. Grace or Israel, what's your takeaway?
No, baby.
For me, I think the simplicity of it, the to realize that that which is most powerful is most simple is pretty big for me. Um I am naturally very relational and I like to ask people questions, but to be able to simplify like this is exciting. And to think about it, be just these kinds of simple tools could be could actually be the means by which a vibrant Jesus community could be birthed
Mhm.
is so hopeful, you know, because that's been our heart for many, many years, is to be able to facilitate gatherings of God's people coming together, everybody functioning, everybody having a voice, everybody listening, and so to be able to start with something simple like this and then expand is super encouraging. As far as like applying it, I'm realizing that it takes me a few rounds sometimes when something is a new concept for me to actually like be able to take it and really go, okay, I don't know, to be able to absorb it and to be able to get the vision for it. Like doing this with you all, I sort of feel like I just kind of showed up. I didn't really understand exactly what we were doing when we started.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and so actually watching the videos today about how people are doing this in different places and the way that they're tweaking it and modifying it um, was, it caused me to go to sort, I feel like I sort of woke up a little bit and go and went, wait a minute, I got to do something with this. And as far as applying, I think at this stage in the game, what I feel inclined to do, rather than, because historically we've been the type of people that are always trying to get people to give mental and verbal assent to something, like cast a vision and get people on board. Um, it can work, but it doesn't always work because people can think they understand what you're saying, but they don't necessarily have the commitment level, the willingness to commit to what you're talking about. So what I think is, what I want to do is I want to take these skills and just start doing them with more intentionality in the environments that where I'm already gathering with people, and just tweak my language a little bit in order to like, because it's different saying, hey, how's your week, or how's it going, or whatever. That elicits something different than how's your heart, or how are you showing up today. It's a different, it feels different in my experience how those questions hit me. And then to be more, to not feel like listening to Jesus has to be a long thing, but just take advantage of a couple minutes and rally people in that place. I think it would be really powerful for people to experience more often that we turn to Jesus and not wait for need. We don't need a long period of time. We can just engage him in these little moments. And so hopefully by doing that, for people to start to experience it, and then they want more.
Yeah.
I also applying it, I want to be more like, I really want to do it better with my husband, where we really are doing the whole thing more consistently, and just getting sharper in our check-ins.
Yeah.
So
I love what you say about just doing it so that the experience of it builds the buy-in that you want.
yeah.
Is that what I heard?
Yeah. Where I'm not even trying to get people to do anything. I just am going to do it myself and see what happens. I was even thinking after the fact, like I go to the laundromat, and there was a guy that older gentleman that just started chatting with me last time. And he saw me today and he came and sat next to me and wanted to talk. And I thought it afterwards, man, it would have been great to ask him, hey, how's your heart today? And see what would happen. What would I get differently if I did that with someone who doesn't even necessarily know? He's a churchgoer, but talking to him, it's clear he doesn't know Jesus. So anyway, just to see what would happen in those types of environments by just bringing these practices into play.
And when you do that, how's your heart with random people like that? It's surprising how often the next rhythm presents itself. Well, would you like to ask Jesus about that? And
Really?
even the
That'd be
church
fun.
chorus go,
It's hard.
what? You can do that? Well,
Yeah.
I don't know. Let's try.
Yeah.
We'll be quiet for a minute, 30 seconds, and don't overwhelm them. And
Right.
here's what I kind of felt like.
Yeah.
Did you sense anything? And
Yeah.
all of a sudden they're sensing it.
Yeah.
I I'll just share with you. I did this on Thursday with one of my clients at the treatment center who was coming to see the chaplain, but I asked him what his concept was God was, and he said, well, I've done lots of psychedelics, and so my concept is, the big connectedness of the whole planet and everybody mixes and da 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 da. And I went, okay. And I got him to tell a story and was able to say, well, was that God talking to you? Let's ask him about that. He related experience of a wind blowing and while he was fishing and thinking it was a friend that was dying and a bunch of this. And so let's ask him about that. And all of a sudden the guy's just sitting there in tears
Wow.
because
Wow.
God talked to him
Wow.
and really let him know that
Wow.
this was God who came to him, and he remembered a couple of things that happened after it. And that's obviously God. And
Wow.
in the end, I was like, using the 12 steps, I said, well, you ready to give your life and your will over to Jesus? And he said, yeah.
Wow.
But
That's
because
awesome.
I kind of said, let's listen to Jesus, which he thought was
Yeah.
preposterous
But he did it.
Yeah.
but he did it.
Great.
So I love that.
Yeah.
I love that,
Yeah.
Grace.
That's
Um,
awesome.
Israel, what's your takeaway so far?
Oh, my takeaways plural are in kind of tangent with
Candle.
no tangent. It's like touching, but not totally. I'm in tangent with Grace's. That's a trigonometry term. Sorry. Yeah, in tangent with what Grace was saying. My big takeaway is how powerful the consistency has become. Like it's become a part of our rhythm to check in,
Mm-hmm.
and it's kind of filtered over into other relationships where like I reach out to people historically, like I can be very, if this is what I'm doing, that's where I am. So if I'm with you, I'm all in with you. But if I'm over there, doing work, I'm all in doing my work. And when it's lunchtime, like I'm just eating as quick as I can to get back to work so I can be done as quick as I can. Where I've been, taking, hey, I've got a lunch break, I'm going to check in with somebody. And there's some people that I'm in life with that like I want to know what's going on over there. I haven't talked to Matt in a couple of days, so I want to have that point of contact. And I have lived historically on a relational level where like quality time is the foundation. And so the mindset that I've had is there needs to be long periods of quality time in order to build the relationship. And I found that, it's harder to take a relationship from, kind of acquaintance casual to, deeper or more intimate in these giant leaps of long times of quality time, because it's just harder to carve out that kind of time and connect in that way. But doing the check-in, where it's like these little bites, how do you eat an elephant? You eat them one bite at a time. It's that kind of mindset that like the Lord's doing a lot of overhauling for me in a bunch of different areas. So this has been powerful because Grace and I started this rhythm of checking in, and because I'm discontented with being an average kind of guy. When Grace communicated our first go round that she was kind of disappointed with our connectedness in the crazy go of everyday life, and that she had a fear that, we would set out to do it and not do it well. And that was checking in once a day. And so anyways, I started calling her at lunchtime and, hey, I want to check in. Hey, I want to drive. I just wanted to check in. I worked to overachieve in that area, and it created this rhythm that where it's just become very natural, where I find myself thinking about, how's Grace doing? I want to check in with her. And so I'll call her up randomly, and say, hey, I just wanted to check in. And then finding out, because when we started out, we sucked really bad at, like a 5-minute check-in. I'd need to be at a job site and let's check in the morning. And then like an hour and a half later, I'm like, oh crap, I gotta get out of here. Yeah. So we've practiced on a few occasions, like really practiced the short check-ins, because that's like really all the time that we had. And and I have found that even though it's not as long or as deep, it can be just as meaningful to check in that short time. And then what happened tonight just kind of further validated that, where like I didn't feel like I took up a lot of our time by you guys listening to the Lord for me. But in the short time that you took to listen, the things that you shared were very meaningful. And finding that in my relationships with people, where just calling and checking in, how meaningful it's become in the rhythm of our relationships, to where I used to do like most of the work in terms of initiating those little check-ins. And some of the people that I've missed, like contact them, reach out to them, and they're unavailable, don't answer, whatever, where then they start pursuing in return. So that's been awesome. And then lastly, the listening to Jesus part is something that, Grace and I decided we would start, adding into our check-ins. Because our check-ins were more just along the lines of, how are you showing up today? How's your heart? And then there would be different times where we kind of offer a certain thing based on what we thought, might help the person, rather than asking, hey, what would be meaningful to you? Like last time when we were together, it was neat just how different people asked each other, how can we be with you in that? And so just adding that element into our check-in times at least once a day. Sometimes we don't have time to get into all of that, but adding that element, I think, will just continue to enhance the connectedness, not just with each other, but then together with the Lord, which is a very powerful thing. So
cool.
And as far as application goes, like Grace, I'm taking these things and I'm, putting them up my sleeve, and then, leaking them out in these different relationships that I have.
Yeah.
And I think
Cool.
it's a great foundation, like she was saying, to give people the experience that makes them then buy in, versus trying to get them to buy into something that is like, I don't even know what you're talking about. Or
It's hard to
weird.
it's almost hard to explain what we're talking about
Yeah.
without experiencing it.
I think too, like, we ran into this a little bit with our son, that like when you first start out with the check-in thing, I think it's out of the box for a lot of people. It's not normal. Like nobody cares about anybody else's heart in an overt way, where they are intentional about saying, hey, how is your heart? And then wanting to steward their heart in some way as a result of them revealing their heart. So, I think trying to present that idea to somebody who's not in that rhythm, versus just kind of sneaking it in there and letting them experience, like talking, like a lot of times you'll ask somebody how their heart is and they'll start telling you about their day. And, you can kind of redirect them subtly, like, hey, you told me all about your day, but in the midst of all that, how's your heart? And then being with them as they open their heart a little bit and they realize, like, hey, that actually felt really good. Like I felt, because we can talk about our day and somebody can go, oh, that sucks, that was hard, or, wow, I'm glad you had a great day. But it's different when they're vulnerable, and that vulnerability makes that connection.
Cool.
Yeah,
that's awesome. Um, so we're about time to go back to the big group. Um, what's on my schedule is just a minute. Um, is to introduce you to what's next week, which is go ahead and look at the stuff, look at what leader teams are about, because I think you guys would really benefit from it. I love being on a leader team right now. And it will help you continue to build the skills to do what you guys all said you're excited about and want to do. The other thing is just let's take 1 minute. Don't need to tell anybody, but ask Jesus how you want to pay it forward. And remember that for some people, the most powerful thing to hear from Jesus is, I want you to receive for nothing. And some of us have a hard time receiving. And that may be the message Jesus gives you here as you're quiet. It may be something else. And so we'll send you the stuff. I think there was in the chat the where to go send any money. But let's just take a minute and then we'll exit back into the round and just kind of say, ask Jesus, how do you want me to pay it forward? Amen. So just take that and follow up with whatever Jesus said. Thank you guys. Um, I can't thank you guys enough. This has been so much fun. And we'll see you next week or 2 weeks, wherever that is.
2 weeks.
Yep. Keep it going. Peggy, I'm so
Yes.
glad you got on.
Yeah.
It's always good to be with you guys.
Yes,
Yep,
it
love
is.
all of you.
Everybody.
Yes, thank you.
All right.
Thanks, Steve.
All right. We'll
All right.
see you in the big group
Bye.
room.
Hello. So, are you guys been connecting at all or just waiting?
I think we just all tumbled in just now.
You just stumbled in now. Okay. Great. All right. Well, so why don't we just take a couple minutes and share, I'm sure in your groups you just did some takeaway stuff about from the course, but maybe a couple of you would like to share something with the larger group here as to what some of those things that you had highlighted were valuable out of this course so far. Or just, you could also just express gratitude for what happened in your group tonight, either way. I guess I'll just go ahead and start. I'll just say that my group went really deep into some pretty intense pain just in the check-in, and I think that it was very good, and it kind of proved the point of how much it's needed. And so a lot of the takeaways right there before I came here back to this room was, wow, this is how we do church, is basically what, the kind of the thrust, like this, we needed this. We needed this support. We needed this perspective. So that would be mine tonight. You have something, Rich?
Yeah, my takeaway for tonight was some delight. The Harrises are en route to Chicago and they could have bowed out, but they chose to, as they drive with their children
Wow.
to jump in there, and it was just fun to have their kids in on the conversation, listening in the back seat, and being a part of it. I just love that. It was like a unexpected delight to be able to know that they were hearing the things we talked about, and that and they actually checked in too, which was pretty fun.
Right.
They did a great job of checking in. It was fun to hear what they had to say. So that was my.
Awesome.
I'll
Anybody
go.
else? Yeah. Terry.
Yeah. Our group, we had Ray and Emma are in our group, and Emma shared how she is using these principles with her grandkids. She's homeschooling 3 of her grandkids and using the check-in and listening to Jesus. And I thought, man, that is the most beautiful thing to watch this go to a next generation. All these tools that we're getting and we're learning. What a beautiful thing to hear. 9-year-old, I forget the ages, 9, 7, and 5, or something like that. And to think that these kids are learning these things right now by their grandma. What a beautiful,
That's
what a beautiful thing
great.
that is, that God's passing this on to the next generations.
Wow.
Amen.
That's literal family church there.
Yeah, that's right.
Beautiful. All right. Anybody else? We're just kind of sharing what we're grateful for um, from our time tonight, or for the whole time.
Well, I think tonight there was at first there's kind of like this feeling of like, all right, we're kind of wrapping up, we're kind of coming to an end, but I felt like God really turned that around and just like, no, this is just the beginning. And so that was a cool, like, this is
Mm.
the first of many, steps on this journey. Yeah.
Hmm.
Great. I'm going to
Perfect.
make a comment right now about that, which I probably should have said to the whole group before. That when Tim first asked me to come and do this with you guys, he asked if we could go all the way to end of January. So we'll do couple sessions in January, and it'll all be about being communities of practice, of just doing more of this. So we're not quite at the end, even though we're at the end of almost at the end of the course. We get to spend a little more time into that next month together. So yeah, anybody else? Great.
I'll go. My experience tonight was just a settling in and a deepening of the rhythms and the connection with everybody. Just felt like it just was sweet and
Great.
wanted to keep, and also I'll go with that, wanted to keep going.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, after a few weeks, it starts to deepen. That's beautiful. Anybody else want to share something?
I'll share.
Okay.
Sorry, I couldn't unmute.
You couldn't unmute, right? I thought you were trying to do that.
Yeah, so yeah, I was really appreciated your sharing, Kent, at the beginning and your personal experience about trying it and then kind of thinking it's too complicated and then wait a minute, this was really good, and coming back in and I think that's been very similar with my experience. And what I'm realizing and what our group was talking about a lot is just how it can seem complicated, but it's simple. It's an awareness of ourselves and God and others, and how rich that is, deepening that awareness and connecting heart to heart. And that's what these skills teach us. And so it's ongoing forever in all our relationships till we get to heaven. I mean, it's just seeking first his kingdom, his righteousness, seeking that relational part of God, and that we're made in his image and we're relational, and learning how to have communities of practice. The importance of that is that we get so distracted from those focuses by the world. That if we don't have communities of practice, we forget to put these things first. And so that's what I'm loving about just having a leader team or having a community of practice, is that you really get to remember that these relational things are the most important, and not all the other things that the enemy wants us to believe are the most important.
Thank you, Denise. Yeah, I just gonna there's so many applications of these simple things, and lots of like Emma did with her grandchildren. You know, like there's so many applications of this. Like I've done it with artists, and we ask, how's your heart and how's your art? And we check in, and we have groups that have multiplied just doing that simple thing, and then listening to God for each other about their art. So you can do it in business, you can do it in all different spheres of life. You know, we mentioned about coming in outside the walls of the church. I have a doctor friend who applied some of this in his with his staff, and it made a big difference in softening the tension in the staff and bringing them together, like by just sharing gratitudes about each other, and it just changed the nature of his business, of his office staff. So, yeah, Grace, Glory, you have your hand up there.
Yeah, this is Israel with Grace here, and
Yes, that's right. Okay, Grace and
I
Glory, Israel.
I did the hand raising. So, anyways, really well said, Denise. Mine kind of echoes what you're saying. I've been really impacted on the simplicity, because of the power of consistency, and the ability to be consistent is amplified by how simple you can make a check-in or even a listening time. And I shared with our group that I'm a big quality time person, and I've built relationships historically on the ability to spend larger amounts of time, um, going deeper, covering more ground. But these check-ins are a really easy way to go, from 0 to 120 in 60 seconds or less, because you're asking people to bypass all the fluff and get down to what's going on at a heart level. How's your heart? How are you showing up today? And that exchange of vulnerability can take place in a very short period of time and have a lot of meaning and impact on our hearts as we exchange, that vulnerability, and open your heart with someone else and let them open to you. And then the stewardship of that in asking Jesus, what does he want to say or do, or how can I be in that with the other person? Those kind of key elements to checking in, and then kind of Emmanuel connecting with Jesus. Being able to do that consistently and more frequently, in shorter amounts of time, it's really revolutionized relationship with people, and given an experience that we wouldn't be able to get if we're just waiting for the opportunity once every 2 weeks to
or more
or longer, right, to sit down and have time together for an hour or two at a time. So it's just been really impactful to have the tools to go deep in a short period of time, to kind of sneak it in a way that's very subtle. You don't have to explain to people. You just ask the question, how's your heart? And then if they try to tell you about their day, then you can always just bring them back to,
Yeah.
I wasn't asking about your day, or in the midst of all of that, how's your heart? It's been a really amazing tool that I've seen a lot of fruit in some of my relationships, just, sprinkling it in there. And it's become part of the culture of a handful of my relationships. It's just been awesome.
Wow. Well said, Israel. That's amazing. I think you're on the path to being a facilitator. You got it, and you're already doing it with people. That's beautiful. Thank you. Anybody else want to share? This is really good stuff.
I'm gonna share for someone who wasn't able to come back in. He was just sharing. He was sharing. I'm going to a meeting, and this friend of his said, "So what's the meeting about?" And he shared with them about checking in, and the guy's response was, "That sounds kind of stupid," you know. And then he said, "Well, let's think about that." He said, "What's going on in your heart right now?" And he did a check-in with this guy, and he said, "So think about all of us in the church. We're all walking around detached, disconnected, and distracted. And what if just even in our conversations in a casual way, we just say, 'Hey, how's your heart?' And we really listen, not with the intention to fix or to give advice, but just listen and tune and say, 'Wow, that sounds really hard. And is there anything you need from me?'" I mean, those simple little understandings of just being the church together. Wow, how would that change? And that doesn't happen on a typical Sunday morning either, does it? Very often in a traditional church anyway. So yeah, I was encouraged.
Yeah, I think all of you probably heard that this whole concept that joy is defined in the human brain and nervous system as when you see someone's eyes light up, they're glad to be with you. And I have a friend, we call him Papa Joe. Maybe some of you met him, I don't know. But he when people ask him the typical question, "How are you?" He'll say, "I'm glad to be with you." And it's opened up all kinds of conversations and opened up relationship by that simple response to the normal exchange of "How are you?" So it's great. And that's what we do. We're glad to be with each other in the highs and the lows when we check in. It's good. Anybody else? There's just like one more because it's just turned 6 just now. Just turned the hour just now, but one
In
more
California.
thing you want to share? Nobody's bold
I
enough.
think we're tired because it's
I
not,
think
it's an
we're
hour
time.
later in our bodies, right?
All right.
Especially you East Coast people. Ugh.
Ah, hey, Rich Malone, would you just finish us off with a prayer, blessing kind of thing tonight?
Yeah, I sure will. So, Abba Father, we just come to you, Lord, and we thank you for this life in Jesus that we share together. And we thank you that your voice speaking to our hearts just makes a difference. And Lord, we thank you for the things that we're learning, the things that you have to say to us. We thank you for the days that are ahead. And Lord, together we want to join our hearts and just asking for Lord, for you to do a mighty work in this country, Lord, with Election Day coming up Tuesday. Lord, we ask that your peace that passes all understanding would guard this country. And Lord, I pray that you would bless each heart represented here as we go forth into this week with listening and following and loving just like you. And just thank you for each person represented here, just the beauty of each soul. And Lord, we thank you in Jesus' name. Amen.
Man. Well, bless you guys. We'll see you in a couple weeks.
Bye. Bless you. Bless you.